On the program today, everyone. We are tracking developments in the National Assembly. You can join the conversation using the hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG and at Nifemi Oguntoye on X. Let's begin with some news updates for you. The Nigeria Air Force says it has intensified counter-terrorism operations in the northeast, launching a series of decisive airstrikes that have killed scores of terrorist fighters. Deputy Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigeria Air Force Group Captain Kabiru Ali, in a statement said that the Nigeria Air Force aircraft delivered coordinated strikes on terrorist strongholds at Wara, that's near Wajiroko, and Chinene in the Mandara Mountains in Borno State, dealing a severe blow to insurgent activities. The statement adds that NAF identified terrorists stockpiling logistics and planting improvised explosive devices around that area, and that the insurgents were later tracked to a concealed location containing a gun truck, ammunition, and fuel reserves. In response, the air component of Operation Harden K did launch successful airstrikes, destroying key terrorist assets. The strikes eliminated multiple gun trucks, critical supplies, and several makeshift shelters. And to the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives has rescinded its decision on the second reading of a bill for an act to remove the immunity conferred on the Vice President, state governors, and their deputies. The bill was set to be introduced to curb corruption, eradicate impunity, and enhance accountability in public office. However, the House has rescinded the second reading passage, saying the rescission is based on the need to subject the certain provisions of the bill to debate. The House also rescinded its decision on a bill to abolish the death penalty. A bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to provide for the office of the Prime Minister as head of government and the office of President as head of state, and to provide for a framework for the mode of election to the said offices, passed second reading in the House of Representatives. Lawmakers have now proceeded on Salah and Easter break, adjourning plenary to 29th of April. We told you earlier that President Tinubu assented to the Southwest Development Commission bill, as well as the South-South Development Commission bill, and also the Nigeria Anti-Doping Bill of 2025. Special advisor to the President on Senate matters, Bashir Lado, made this known in a statement noting that the legislations reflect President Tinubu's commitment to inclusive governance, equitable progress, and Nigeria's emergence as a global powerhouse. It says by signing the bills, President Tinubu has reaffirmed his role as a transformational leader who prioritizes regional empowerment, economic expansion, and infrastructural excellence. Mr. Lado said the commissions would serve as catalysts for industrial growth, job creation, and social advancement, ensuring that every corner of Nigeria benefits from his administration's progressive vision. He did add that Nigeria's anti-doping bill of 2025 solidified Nigeria's commitment to fairness, excellence, and integrity in global sports. Let's talk about these commissions for a bit. I'm joined by APC National Secretary and also former spokesperson of the Senate, Senator Ajibola Bashir. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening, distinguished.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Great. As a member of the 9th Senate, I'm sure that you, alongside with your colleagues, played a significant role in shaping some of the bills that have now been signed by Mr. President, including the Southwest Development Commission bill. But let's begin with your understanding of why each zone needs a development commission.
Yes, I think it's very imperative for us to say that every federation has its own peculiarities. At inception, Nigeria was a three-region federation comprising the North, the West, and the Eastern region of Nigeria before the creation of the Midwestern region. But with the incursion of the military, Nigeria was divided into 12 states, from 12 states to 19 states, from 19 states to 21 states. From 21 states, you now have a 36 federation with the FCT. The reality is that with the balkanization of the so-called federating unit, the competence of those units to drive meaningful development, growth within the context of the modern development has been hampered by the balkanization of those state entity. Even when our government took over in Osun in 2010, 2011, we had to, with other governors in the Southwest region, set up what we call development agenda for Western Nigeria, which is housed presently in the Cocoa House in Ibadan. The aim is to be able to leverage on a relative advantage of each government and then be able to collaborate to have meaningful development coming to the Southwest. So this Regional Development Commission is to be able to address the challenges that the balkanization of the state entity with the attendant challenge that they have in being able to bring meaningful, holistic development to the people of Nigeria.
A good way to put it, but some have argued whether or not regional government can be advanced by federal agencies like these commissions, that it's possibly that the idea has to do with regional ownership of resources. What are your thoughts in this regard?
There's no one size fits all when it comes to making conceptualization of what works, in government. And of course, even the Nigerian, Supreme Court in plethora of cases has cautioned that we cannot have a kind of attachment to a rigid definition of concept of federalism. Every society must develop what works for it. The idea of Regional Development Commission is to be able to ensure that federal resources are harnessed and be able to address the peculiarity of challenges in each of the regions that we have in Nigeria. And this is coming against the backdrop of successes that have been made with the Niger Delta Development Commission. It is thought that this can also be replicated in other regions so that regional issues that needed federal attention and collaboration with the state can definitely be addressed. So it's a win-win situation for the Nigerian people when the states are embarking on development and the federal government is also focusing on certain key infrastructure, particularly those that straddle the territories of the state, and then those require huge resources and collaborations between the federal and the state entities.
We'll talk about the NDDC shortly and the examples, the exemplary precision that it's given in this regard. But let's start with the Southwest Development Commission. How do you respond to critics who argue that this commission, like others before it, may become another bureaucratic layer prone to mismanagement and inefficiency?
You see, I don't know, in every society, you will have people who, even when you give, we have the best of intention, they only look at things from a negative, perspective. But then, my brother, that is the beauty of, democracy. Heterogeneity and diversity of ideas and perspective is what, beautified, democracy. As far as some of us are concerned, every effort that aim at bringing development, at addressing the infrastructure, deficiency, at harnessing resources to be able to create a productive economy whereby the teeming youth of Nigeria will have hope is a welcome development. If the challenges will be bureaucratic control and possibility of corruption, there are legal and institutional frameworks that can be put in place to be able to address those challenges. It's just saying that because you are likely to get constipated due to the fact that you have certain medical condition, you will not be able to eat in that regard. You cannot negative effort at development because there will be challenges of corruption, there will be challenges of bureaucratic efficiency of those agencies. When those challenges are be identified, then the job remains being able to tackle those challenges and then be able to get into the positive area of tackling development, holistic development for our people.
Distinguished, you don't think that there might be some genuineness in these concerns expressed? The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and the Northeast Development Commission, for instance, have had their own fair share when it comes to allegations of corruption and poor project execution. Should we not instead consider fundamentally safeguards, or rather put safeguards in place to ensure that these commissions avoid those pitfalls?
You see, what I'm saying is this. Will you say because there are allegations of corruption and poor project management in NDDC and NEDC that means that NDDC and NEDC have not had significant impact positively on the people in those regions? The answer definitely will be no. So the fact that there are always challenges of making our system to be more effective, to be more efficient, and of course to address the problem of waste and maladministration does not mean that we should not be able to bring in processes, program, agencies, commission that will be necessary to facilitate and catalyze development. When you go to the Niger Delta region, and I monitored the engagement that the Mr. President had recently with PANDEF, and he made mention of the giant stride being made by the NDDC under the leadership of Dr. Sam Ogbuku. And when you go to the NEDC too, you see projects impacting positively on the life of the people of the northeastern region being embarked upon by the NEDC. So the fact that there are such challenges is just as saying that even in the whole structure of government in Nigeria, there are allegations that are against some governments at the state level, even at the federal level. Some agencies are alleged to have been engaged in corruption. Would then that mean that we should scrap government because we will have challenges? The whole essence of governance in being able is being able to identify those challenges, then be able to put framework, legal, institutional, bureaucratic, administrative, and of course, sociological solution to be able to address those challenges. For some of us, it's salutary that the effort that was begun in the 9th Assembly, having Southwest Development Commission, has been brought to fruition by the able leadership of the National Assembly and, of course, the support of our President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we believe that the naysayers in no time will be able to see that these are framework that will catalyze more meaningful, impactful development positively on the Nigerian people, particularly creating an enabling environment for the engagement of the teeming youth who are looking for hope, who are looking for their future to be brightened in a greater Nigerian economy.
Senator Bashir, let's take a very short break, and we'll be right back with more on this conversation. Stay with us, everyone. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Senator Ajibola Bashir, former spokesperson of the 9th Senate and also National Publicity Secretary, National Secretary.
National Secretary, not
I corrected myself already. Distinguished. National Secretary of the APC.
So that Felix Moka will not think that I'm
now you are taking his job. All right. Thank you for staying the course on the program, distinguished. So the Development Commission in the Southwest is touted as a catalyst for industrialization and job creation in the region. And it sounds really good. But do Nigerians really know the specificity, the specifics rather, as to the projects or sectors that will be prioritized? Because there are, concerns about, will it not be a duplication of initiatives in the region like Amotekun or Odua Investment Group, or even what the state governments do?
No, it can't definitely be a duplication of the effort. Odua Investment is has become a kind of an investment arm born out of the heritage of the Western region efforts at energizing governance by private sector involvement. And of course, it has nothing to do with what we are talking about, having a commission that is well-funded, well-resourced, and embarking on projects impacting on the life of the people. For instance, there are still largely infrastructure deficiency in many communities, particularly in the areas which can be able to assist us in tapping the potentials we have in the agriculture sector and the agro-allied industry. These are areas I believe that the Southwest Development Commission will focus upon. Of course, we also have in the region potential for solid minerals. These are areas where there can be enough collaboration and partnership to be able to ensure this is tapped. Overall, when you look through the nooks and crannies of not only the Western region, but Nigeria, you see a big gap in terms of infrastructure deficit, particularly in terms of linkages of infrastructure between and among the states comprising in the region. And you will recollect that I started by saying that the balkanization of the states and the fact that we now have several bureaucracies being replicated, gulping the bulk of the resources of this state, has hampered those states to be impactful in terms of being able to deliver on giant infrastructure that will be able to catalyze development. You will recollect that what we have now today as the six states in Western region and Edo and Delta is governed by a single bureaucracy of the Western region from Ibadan, which today you now have 8 bureaucracies, 8 state house of assembly, 8 judiciary within the same geographical space with attendant cost on the overhead. So when you combine the overhead implication or balkanization of the state and the benefit that we can now get from having a commission that is not so much bogged down by those bureaucratic challenges and large overhead, being able to deliver development, it will be a thing of joy for the people of the Western region to be able to see that development is being brought to their doorstep because of the need to address that lacuna being created by the balkanization of the state entities, particularly during the military era.
Distinguished, you wear many caps, so I want to get your thoughts on other issues. I'm glad you are able to join us today. As spokesperson of the 9th Senate, I'm sure you are concerned about development in the Senate, especially with the recent fallout during the Ethics Committee meeting with some individuals who have come to witness against the Senate President. I want to quote what the former Education Minister mentioned recently. She did say that the issue has terribly reduced the integrity of the Senate and those that sit in it, and that the Senate handling of Senator Natasha Akpotho-Duan's case has severely damaged the institution's integrity. What are your thoughts about this?
I wouldn't want to join issue with the former minister, but when you go back to the, you can ask your research team to go into the archive, go to the internet, you will see that for the past, since Obi left government, she has not had any palatable comments about any government institutions and any government personalities. So that's what she's saying is just typical of somebody who believe that they have entitlement to continue to be in government, and when they are not in government, they only see negatives in that regard. And as far as what transpired, I've been in the Senate, and when I was a senator, I could recollect that at least 2 or 3 times my seats were reallocated. In fact, sometimes we used to crack jokes among ourselves that maybe Ahmed Lawal, our president then, was afraid that some of us are planning coup in our axis, and that's why he's always trained us from one place to the other. But that never really led to any issue. And of course, when you say you want to be a witness, I'm a legal practitioner. I have been an attorney general, and at the risk of sounding immodest, I have a PhD in law. You can only be a witness as to what you have perceived with any of your 5 senses. Somebody who was not in Akwa Ibom when the alleged incident occurred, appearing before the National Assembly seeking to testify, if at all the person is giving any testimony will be regarded in law as inadmissible, evidence. How can you be a witness to a fact that you did not witness with your eyes, you did not perceive with any of your other senses in that regard? So I think some people have turned the job of activism to maligning government institutions, undermining public functionaries, and they think that's the way to conduct opposition. Right. During the times of Chief Awolowo, when you want to make criticism, you make criticism about issues, about coming with alternative programs and perspectives, rather than seeking to malign government institutions. The same institutions that they are seeking to malign today, it's not institution of President of the Senate, Akpabio, is not that of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, institution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You cannot, no matter what your grouse, no matter what your misgivings, no matter what sentiment you might harbor, seeking to publicly undermine those sacred institutions.
I hear you, Senator Bashir. But allow me to jump in quickly because of time. That's one way to look at it. Let us also consider the integrity of the committee itself, because one of the committee members reportedly admitted to being a principal witness for Senator Akpabio, right? And there's also reports that the chairman on the committee was quoted to have said that the case was dead on arrival. So how do you think Nigerians can trust the process, judging the case openly, considering what has been said before now?
You said the person was quoted. You see, was quoted is part of what I'm saying about hearsay evidence. And the proper way, Nifemi, when somebody appears before a panel and you think there's likelihood of bias about that panel, you will raise that as a threshold issue before you even go to whether you want to give testimony or not. But as the person being investigated, as he raised issue of likelihood of bias, if that has not been raised, you cannot now go to the media and be raising issues that is not before the panel. If there are genuine evidence to say a particular party that in a matter is likely to be biased, either in terms of filial, pecuniary, or some other relationship, you will raise it as a threshold issue before you go to the substance of the matter. So now raising it after altercation before the committee in a way that is even done that showed lack of dignity and respect for such kind of person that has held an office in Nigeria, it says so much about whether there's treason in even coming before the Senate. Is it to really seek justice for the person that's being investigated, or to just create a media scandal or media scare, which is characteristics of those characters?
There are some huge allegations here. Sexual harassment, abuse of office, obstruction of legislative duties. Given the gravity of these claims, you don't think there is need for an independent investigation panel because of, you know, the ethics committee that we talk about are colleagues of the Senate president, who many think might be loyal to him?
You know, there's even in legislative contests, even in adjudicatory contests, there's essentially a doctrine of necessity. And I'll give you what maybe consider to be a very mundane example. A judge that's presiding over a criminal matter is going to benefit directly or indirectly from reading the society of criminals in that particular society. Are you going to say, because of that logical extension of possible benefit of reading criminals, somebody must not sit as a judge in a society? You are talking of breach of ethics of a parliamentary body. Where will you go and get people that will preside over that body, if not for those if not for those who are involved in the parliamentary? So are you saying that people who are non-parliamentarian will be the one that will seek as committee on ethics for the Nigerian Senate? I think it's getting the argument and the contention to the level of absurdity. The fact that the colleagues in the National Assembly will not mean that they cannot investigate and come up with a dispassionate and objective assessment of what has happened. And of course, I wouldn't want to go so much about the so-called allegation of sexual harassment or non-sexual harassment. The question is at large, whether even what is even said, assuming without conceding is even true, will be said to have constituted a sexual harassment. But the more important thing is this, and we need to watch it. We must protect the sanctity, integrity, and the wholesomeness of our public institution. Because today, we may not be the one to be there. We must lay legacy for posterity of Nigerians.
Good place to leave it. Senator Ajibola Bashir, thank you so much for your contribution on the program.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me here. Thank you very much.
That's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Ogunto.